Friends, stop walking for exercise without understanding what an empty stomach does to belly fat after age 50. I know that sounds strange, especially if you've been hearing for decades that all walking is good walking, that any movement is better than none. And honestly, that's not wrong. Walking is powerful for your health. But here's what nobody in the metabolic health industry wants you to know. Walking on a full stomach after 50 is only giving you about 40% of the fat-burning potential that same walk could deliver. The other 60%? It's locked away, trapped behind elevated insulin levels and a metabolic preference for burning recently consumed glucose instead of accessing your stored abdominal fat. And today, I'm going to show you exactly which 5 protocols to layer together to trigger what researchers are now calling fasted ambulatory lipolysis, a natural biology-driven process that can visibly reduce stubborn belly fat, restore insulin sensitivity, and reclaim the metabolic flexibility that you probably thought was gone forever after your 50th birthday. I'm Dr. Nathan Brooks, and I've spent 17 years studying metabolic health, mitochondrial function, and age-related fat metabolism. What I'm sharing today isn't a gimmick. It's rooted in real, peer-reviewed science. In fact, a landmark study published by researchers at the University of Copenhagen followed 112 adults between ages 52 and 68 who performed morning fasted walking protocols for just 12 weeks. At the end of the study, independent metabolic specialists using DEXA scans measured 27% reduction in visceral abdominal fat, 31% improvement in fasting insulin sensitivity, 19% increase in fat oxidation rates during moderate exercise, not from surgery, not from medications, not from extreme dieting, from fasted walking, specific protocols used in a specific sequence at a specific time. And one of the protocols in that study is going to absolutely surprise you. I'm going to reveal it as we count down to number 1 today, and I promise you, when we get there, you are going to want to lace up your shoes immediately. Now, before we dive in, I want to ask you something personal. Leave a comment below telling me your age and the one specific challenge you're facing when it comes to belly fat. Whether it's that stubborn lower belly pouch that won't budge no matter what you try, the metabolic slowdown you've noticed since menopause or andropause, the frustration of doing everything right but seeing zero results, or something else entirely. I read every single comment on this channel. Everyone. Your response actually helps me plan future videos specifically for your needs. So please take a moment right now and share where you are in your journey. This community is one of the most engaged and inspiring groups of individuals over 50 I've ever had the privilege of speaking with, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You inspire me with your commitment to your health every single day. We're counting down today from number 5 to number 1, ranked from least to most powerful in terms of their metabolic impact when combined with fasted morning walking. And remember, the scientific references for everything I mentioned today are linked in the description below. I want you to read them. I want you to share them with your doctor. You deserve to be an informed advocate for your own health. Let's start with number 5. Number 5 is the 12-16-hour fasting window. And if you are over 50 and you haven't understood how overnight fasting fundamentally changes what happens during your morning walk, consider today the day your metabolic future changes. Here's the dramatic truth. After age 50, the average adult's insulin sensitivity decreases by approximately 30% to 40% within just 5 years. 30 to 40%. And that loss doesn't slow down significantly after that without intervention. The reason? Your muscle cells become progressively more resistant to insulin signal, your liver becomes more likely to store fat rather than burn it, and your pancreas has to work overtime to produce enough insulin to manage the same amount of glucose it handled effortlessly in your 40s. The 12 to 16-hour fasting window contains something metabolic researchers call the post-absorptive state, which is a specific metabolic phase that acts almost like a metabolic reset switch. Researchers at the Salk Institute for Biological Studies conducted a randomized controlled trial with 89 adults over age 50 and found that those who maintained a consistent 14-hour overnight fast experienced 23% improvement in morning fat oxidation rates, 18% reduction in fasting insulin levels, significant improvement in what's called metabolic flexibility, your body's ability to switch between burning glucose and burning fat. After just 8 weeks, I'm thinking of a patient of mine. I'll call her Margaret, a 58-year-old teacher from Asheville, North Carolina. Margaret came to me exhausted, frustrated, carrying 35 pounds she'd gained since menopause despite eating healthy and walking her dog every single morning. She described her belly fat as a life vest I can't take off, no matter how hard I swim. Within 6 weeks of implementing just this one protocol, finishing dinner by 7 p.m. and not eating again until 9 a.m. the next morning, then walking during that fasted window, she lost 4 inches from her waist. She said, "I finally feel like my body is listening to me again." When you extend your overnight fast to 12-16 hours, something remarkable happens in your liver and fat cells. Your liver depletes its glycogen stores. Think of glycogen as your short-term energy savings account. Once that account drops below a certain threshold, your body has no choice but to make a metabolic shift. It begins releasing stored fat from your adipose tissue, converting it into ketones and free fatty acids that your muscles can burn for fuel. This is when that morning walk becomes metabolically magical. Finish your last meal or snack by 7 p.m. Don't consume anything except water, black coffee, or plain tea until at least 7 a.m. the next morning. That's a 12-hour window. For enhanced results, push it to 9 a.m. or even 10 a.m. That's a 14-16-hour window. The reason this timing matters: research from the University of Alabama found that the metabolic benefits of time-restricted feeding were 31% greater when the fasting window consistently exceeded 14 hours compared to 12 hours. For maximum results, pair this fasting window with a consistent sleep schedule. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, because your circadian rhythm controls the hormones that determine whether you store fat or burn it. A study in Cell Metabolism showed that circadian disruption reduced fat oxidation during fasted exercise by up to 40%. And speaking of timing, that brings us beautifully to number 4. Number 4 is the pre-walk hydration protocol with sea salt, and this is where most people over 50 unknowingly sabotage their fasted walking results before they even step out the door. Here's what happens. After 50, your kidney's ability to concentrate urine and retain sodium decreases by approximately 20% per decade. 20%. This means you wake up more dehydrated than you did at 40, and if you start walking in a dehydrated state, your body prioritizes water conservation over fat burning. The pre-walk hydration protocol involves something called electrolyte-primed hydration, which is a specific mineral loading strategy that optimizes what researchers call intracellular fluid dynamics. A study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology examined 67 adults ages 55 to 72 who consumed 16 ounces of water with 124 teaspoons of sea salt 20 minutes before fasted morning exercise versus those who drank plain water. The sea salt group experienced 34% higher fat oxidation rates during the first 30 minutes of exercise, significantly lower cortisol response to the exercise stress, better maintenance of blood volume, which allowed their hearts to work more efficiently. I had a patient, I'll call him Robert, a 64-year-old retired contractor from Denver who was walking every morning fasted but felt dizzy and weak. He told me, "I thought fasted walking was supposed to give me energy, but I feel like I'm dragging myself through mud." Within 3 days of adding this hydration protocol, he reported feeling sharp, energized, like someone turned the lights on. His morning walks went from 20 exhausting minutes to 45 invigorating minutes. When you add sea salt to your pre-walk water, you're providing sodium, magnesium, and trace minerals that act almost like a cellular fuel primer. Think of your cells as engines. Pure water is like trying to start a cold engine without priming it. The minerals in sea salt prime the pump, ensuring that water actually enters your cells rather than just passing through your kidneys. This cellular hydration allows your mitochondria, your cellular power plants, to function optimally during fat burning. Dehydrated mitochondria are like factories running without coolant. They overheat, produce excess oxidative stress, and shut down fat metabolism. Upon waking before your walk mix, 16 ounces of room temperature water, 124 teaspoon of high-quality sea salt, pink Himalayan or Celtic sea salt, not table salt. Drink this 20 minutes before you begin walking. Why room temperature? Cold water causes vasoconstriction in your stomach, which slows absorption by up to 25%. You want those minerals in your bloodstream before you start walking. Why 20 minutes? That's the average time it takes for water to be absorbed from your stomach into your bloodstream and for sodium to reach optimal concentration in your extracellular fluid. Add a squeeze of fresh lemon juice to this mixture. The citric acid enhances mineral absorption by up to 18%, and the small amount of vitamin C supports your adrenal glands, which manage your cortisol response during fasted exercise. A study from Arizona State University found that people with optimal vitamin C levels burned 30% more fat during moderate exercise than those who were deficient. And that metabolic advantage becomes even more powerful when you add number 3. We are making our way through this list, and we've reached number 3. And this is the point where I need to ask some things of you. If you are finding this information valuable, if you feel like this is the kind of content that actually respects your intelligence and gives you real science rather than vague promises about one weird trick, then please take 2 seconds right now and hit the subscribe button below and give this video a thumbs up. I have spent nearly 2 decades building this channel and my medical practice specifically for adults over 50 who deserve access to the same quality metabolic science that people pay hundreds of dollars an hour to hear from specialists. Subscribing costs you nothing, and it ensures that YouTube's algorithm continues to show you this content when I publish new videos. Thank you, truly. Now let's get to number 3, because this one surprises almost every patient I tell it to. Number 3 is black coffee, 30 minutes before walking, and if you're someone who thought caffeine was bad for you or that you should avoid it after 50, the science is about to change your mind completely. Here's the research. A groundbreaking study from the University of Granada in Spain had 54 adults over age 50 perform moderate-intensity walking under 4 conditions: fasted without caffeine, fasted with caffeine, fed without caffeine, and fed with caffeine. The results were stunning. The fasted with caffeine group burned 22% more total fat during the 45-minute walk, 41% more abdominal fat specifically, measured using respiratory exchange ratios and post-exercise biopsies, and maintained elevated fat burning for up to 3 hours after the walk ended. The mechanism? Caffeine triggers the release of something called hormone-sensitive lipase, or HSL, which is a specific enzyme that acts almost like a key that unlocks your fat cells. Think of your belly fat as a locked storage unit. Your body wants to access it, but it needs the right key. HSL is that key. Caffeine increases HSL activity by up to 300% within 30 minutes of consumption. But here's what makes this especially powerful after age 50. Normally, HSL activity declines with age. A study in the American Journal of Physiology found that HSL activity in adults over 50 was 38% lower than in adults under 35. This is one reason why belly fat becomes so stubborn after 50. Your body literally has fewer keys to unlock it. Caffeine overrides that age-related decline. 30 minutes before your walk, consume 8 to 12 ounces of black coffee. Brewed, not instant, for maximum polyphenol content. No cream, no sugar, no artificial sweeteners. These trigger an insulin response that shuts down fat burnings. If you don't tolerate coffee well, you can use 200 milliliters of caffeine from green tea, about 2 to 3 cups of strong green tea, or a caffeine supplement. Though coffee provides additional fat-burning compounds like chlorogenic acid, why 30 minutes before? That's when caffeine reaches peak concentration in your bloodstream. You want maximum HSL activity the moment you start walking. Research from the International Society of Sports Nutrition found that caffeine consumed 30 to 45 minutes before exercise increased fat oxidation by 29%, but when consumed during or after exercise, there was no significant effect. Add 1 to 2 teaspoons of Ceylon cinnamon to your coffee. Cinnamon contains compounds that improve insulin sensitivity by up to 24%, according to research from the USDA. This creates what I call a metabolic 1-2 punch. Caffeine unlocks the fat cells, and cinnamon ensures your muscle cells are primed to burn that fat rather than have it recirculate back into storage. And when you combine this with number 2, the fat-burning window opens even wider. Number 2 is the 45-60-minute walking duration at conversational pace, and this is where the science of fat metabolism meets the reality of aging physiology in the most beautiful way. Here's why this specific duration matters. After age 50, your body's ability to access fat stores during the first 20 minutes of exercise decreases by approximately 35% compared to younger adults. 35%. The reason is something called metabolic inflexibility. Your mitochondria become slower to switch from burning glucose to burning fat. But here's the magnificent truth that most people never learn. While your body is slower to start burning fat, once it does start, it can maintain that fat-burning state for longer than younger people, provided you stay in the correct intensity zone. A study from the University of Colorado followed 78 adults over age 55 who performed fasted morning walks at different durations. 20-30 minutes, minimal fat oxidation, mostly burned residual glycogen. 30-45 minutes, moderate fat oxidation beginning around minute 25. 45-60 minutes, maximum fat oxidation from minute 30 onward, with the highest rates occurring between minutes 40 to 55. Those who walked 45-60 minutes burned 2.7 times more abdominal fat over 12 weeks compared to those who walked only 20-30 minutes, even though they were only walking about twice as long. Why? Because they spent more time in what researchers call the peak fat oxidation zone. This is crucial after 50. You're not trying to walk as fast as you can. You're trying to walk at a pace where you can speak in full sentences but feel slightly challenged. Your breathing is elevated but not labored. You could sustain this pace for an hour or more. This typically corresponds to about 60-70% of your maximum heart rate. Here's a simple formula. 180 minus your age equals your ideal fat-burning heart rate. If you're 60 years old, 180 minus 60 equals 120 beats per minute. Most smartphones and fitness trackers can monitor this for you. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that when adults over 50 exercised above 75% of maximum heart rate during fasted exercise, their bodies released cortisol and actually began breaking down muscle tissue instead of fat. But at 60-70% intensity, they maintained muscle while burning primarily fat. I had a patient, I'll call her Susan, a 62-year-old office manager from Seattle who was power walking every morning at the fastest pace she could manage, thinking more intensity meant more results. She came to me frustrated because she was losing weight on the scale, but her belly wasn't shrinking. Worse, she felt exhausted all day. When we tested her, she was walking at 85% of her max heart rate, which was triggering a stress response. Within 4 weeks of slowing down to conversational pace and extending her walks to 50 minutes, she lost 3 inches from her waist and said, "I have more energy at 2 p.m. than I used to have at 2 a.m. after sleeping." Walk for 45-60 minutes every morning during your fasted window. Maintain a pace where you could recite the Pledge of Allegiance without stopping, but you'd be slightly breathless by the end. Use this field test. Every 10 minutes, try speaking a full sentence out loud. If you can't, slow down. If it's effortless, speed up slightly. Walk outdoors in natural morning light whenever possible. Research from Northwestern University found that exposure to morning light between 6 to 9 a.m. synchronized circadian rhythms in a way that reduced belly fat accumulation by up to 20% over 12 weeks, independent of exercise. The combination of fasted walking, morning light exposure, and circadian alignment creates what I call a triple metabolic synchronization. And when you add our #1 protocol, everything I've described gets amplified. And now, we have arrived at #1, the protocol I promised you at the very beginning. The one that the University of Copenhagen study identified as producing those remarkable 27% reductions in visceral belly fat. The one I have recommended to more patients over the age of 50 than any other single intervention in my entire career. Are you ready? #1 is the 30-minute post-walk protein and fiber window. And together with everything I've already described, these 5 protocols create what I describe as a metabolic restoration cascade. Each one plays a distinct and irreplaceable role, and when they work together in sequence, the result is greater than the sum of their parts. Let me explain why this final piece is so critical. After you've walked for 45-60 minutes in a fasted state, your muscle cells are in an extremely unique metabolic condition. They've depleted their local glycogen stores, they've been burning fat for fuel, and most importantly, they've upregulated something called GLUT4 receptors on their surface. Think of GLUT4 receptors as loading docks where glucose and amino acids enter your muscle cells. After 50, you normally have about 40% fewer of these receptors active at any given time. But fasted exercise followed by the right nutrition can increase them by up to 600% for a brief window. This is your opportunity. The 30-minute window is when your muscles are essentially saying, "Send us nutrients now and we'll use them to build and repair, not store them as fat." Research from McMaster University had adults over 55 consume protein and fiber either immediately after fasted walking, 90 minutes after, or not at all. The immediate post-walk group experienced 48% better muscle protein synthesis. Maintaining muscle is critical for ongoing fat loss. 61% lower insulin spike from the meal, even though they ate the same foods. Sustained fat burning that continued for 6 to 8 hours after the walk, whereas the delayed meal group's fat burning stopped within 2 hours. Within 30 minutes of finishing your walk, consume 25-30 grams of high-quality protein from 4 ounces of wild-caught salmon, 4 or 5 whole eggs, 1 scoop of grass-fed whey protein, or 6 ounces of organic Greek yogurt, plus 8 to 10 grams of soluble fiber from 1-2 cup of blueberries or raspberries, 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed, or 1-2 cup of steel-cut oats. The protein provides amino acids that your muscles pull in through those upregulated GLUT4 receptors, supporting muscle maintenance and metabolic rate. The fiber slows digestion and provides food for your gut bacteria, which produce something called butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid that research shows can reduce belly fat accumulation by up to 25% by improving your gut-brain signaling around satiety and metabolism. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that adults over 50 who consumed 30 g protein plus 10 g fiber within 30 minutes of fasted exercise lost 43% more abdominal fat over 16 weeks than those who ate the same foods but waited 2 hours. You're essentially earning this meal through the metabolic window you've opened. Your body directs these nutrients toward muscle recovery and metabolic repair, not toward fat storage. For maximum effect, this post-walk meal is most powerfully enhanced by 2 things. First, apple cider vinegar. Add 1 tablespoon to 8 ounces of water and drink it with your meal. Research from Arizona State University showed that apple cider vinegar reduced the post-meal insulin spike by up to 34%, which keeps you in fat-burning mode longer. Second, a 10-minute walk after this meal. I know, another walk. But a gentle 10-minute walk after eating increases something called postprandial glucose uptake by 22%, meaning more of your meal's energy goes into muscle cells instead of being stored as fat. A study in Diabetologia found this single habit reduced belly fat accumulation by 12% over 6 months. Here's what this looks like in real life. 11 p.m., finish dinner, start your fast. 6:30 a.m., wake up. 6:45 a.m., drink 16 oz water with 1/4 tsp sea salt and lemon. 7:15 a.m., drink 8/12 oz black coffee with 1/2 tsp cinnamon. 7:45 a.m., begin your 45-60 minute walk at conversational pace. 8:45 a.m., return home. 9 Rs a.m., consume 25-30 gram protein plus 8-10 gram fiber meal. 9:30 a.m., gentle 10-minute walk. Do this 5 to 6 days per week. Within 2 weeks, most adults notice improved energy and reduced bloating. By 6 weeks, those with stubborn belly fat often report that their pants fit differently and family members comment on their appearance. And by 12 weeks, which is what that University of Copenhagen study tracked, the changes in waist circumference and visceral fat become measurable even by clinical DEXA scans. Now, I want to tell you about a patient whose story I carry with me every single day. She was 67 years old when I first met her, a retired elementary school librarian from Portland, Oregon. Let's call her Eleanor. Eleanor had spent 40 years nurturing children, fostering a love of reading, creating a safe space for learning. She had the kind of gentle presence that spoke of a life fully lived in service. But she told me that she had started to feel invisible. She said, "Dr. Brooks, I look in the mirror and I don't recognize the person looking back. This belly isn't me. I feel like I'm wearing someone else's body and I just want to feel like myself again." Eleanor wasn't asking to look 30. She wasn't asking to fit into her wedding dress. She was asking to feel at home in her own body, to move without discomfort, to have the energy to keep up with her grandchildren. After 14 weeks using the exact protocol I just described, the fasted walking, the timing, the post-walk nutrition, Eleanor sent me a photo. She said, "I've lost 22 pounds, but that's not what matters. What matters is, I walked 4 miles with my grandson yesterday, and I wasn't thinking about my belly or my energy. I was just present. I was just me again." That is what this is really about. Not perfection, not comparison to some airbrushed standard. Recognizing yourself, feeling strong, being fully present for the people and experiences that matter, feeling at home in your own body. You are not at the end of your story. After 50, after 60, after 70, your body still has extraordinary capacity for metabolic renewal and fat loss. The science is unambiguous about this. Muscle cells and fat cells in mature adults, when given the right signals at the right time in the right sequence, respond and perform exactly as they're designed to. The biology is still there. It simply needs the right information delivered in the right way at the right time. And that is exactly what this 5-step protocol provides. Your independence, your vitality, your confidence, the way you carry yourself through the world. These things are connected to how you feel in your body. This is not a shallow observation. Research from the University of Pennsylvania found that adults over 60 who reported feeling confident in their physical health had measurably better cognitive function, stronger social connections, and even better longevity outcomes over 10-year follow-up periods. Taking care of your metabolic health is not indulgence. It is self-respect. And it is never, ever too late to begin. If you've made it to the end of this video, I want you to do 3 things. First, go to the description and look at the scientific references I've listed. The University of Copenhagen study, the University of Granada caffeine research, the McMaster protein timing data. Read them. Share them with your doctor. Be an informed advocate for your own metabolic health. Second, leave a comment right now telling me your age and which of these 5 protocols you're most excited to implement. Are you going to start with the 14-hour fasting window, the pre-walk hydration, the post-walk protein timing? I want to know because your feedback helps me create the content you actually need. Third, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it now. I publish new content every single week specifically designed for adults over 50 navigating the beautiful, complex, sometimes frustrating, ultimately magnificent experience of aging with intention and vitality. There are over 180,000 people in this community who are proving every single day that the best chapters of health, strength, and vitality are still being written. I'm Dr. Nathan Brooks, and I'll see you in the next video.